On the Wado Radio Show.
Yes, it's DJ Wado. It's the Wado Radio Show. It's more than music. It's ministry, man. And I'm excited to have this dude on the show, man. It's been a little bit because he's been pastoring, man. You know, he's been kind of chilling, but he's on the line with us, man. Trip Lee, what's up, my brother?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, man. How about yourself, bro?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
Man, that's good, man. I'm happy you back with some new music, man. I think the world is a better place when you put music out, bro.
That might be a little bit of an overstatement, but I'm happy too, man. Yeah, I'm excited to be putting new music out, bro.
Yo, so let me start with this, bro. I know you had a mixtape early in your career, man. I don't even know if you count that joint, to be honest. But
I don't. I try to pretend it never happened.
But why a mixtape now, man?
Really, man. I didn't feel like I was. I didn't think I was about to start on the new record, but I really wanted to give people new music. So sure. I started out. I was gonna do an EP, and it ended up just being a lot more songs than an EP, and so we decided just to make it a mixtape. And I know that mixtape has kind of lost all meaning. Nobody really knows what it is.
Yeah.
It just kind of means this is not my album, and so that's the meaning that we have for this one. But I don't want people to assume that means that the quality is going to be lower or something like that. You know, I wanted to still give people great music, and but give people some music now in between now and when the next LP comes out. So
sure. And this is like all original music and all that.
All original music. Yep.
Was this is something I was kind of curious about, bro, because I know Gavin has been very much involved in your past few projects, and I was wondering how his career is progressing right now. If that was still the case with this mixtape.
Yeah, Gavin still did a lot of production on it. I think he did off the top. I think he did 5. He did either 4 or 5 on it.
Wow.
And so that's still a lot. So he did more than anybody else on the record. And me and Gavin love working together. And yeah, like you said, we've worked together so much in the past. And yeah, man. I mean, I think the joints that he did Too Cold. You know, he did a bunch of other ones that I think people are really gonna love. So yeah, he didn't do the whole record like he did on Rise, but he still did a large amount, and I think a lot of the bangers that people will really enjoy. So yeah,
that's good, man. I think people was getting used to y'all together, man.
I know, man, and it's not gonna be the end. You know, we'll keep working together, and I love Gavin, so I don't only love to get to work with him, but I also love to continue to let more people know about what he's doing. And yeah, we've been friends for a long time, so. Sure.
Man, how are you doing with the chronic fatigue syndrome in this season, man? Because it seems like you're not slowing down at all with your music. You're traveling, pastoring, and all of that, man. And how was your health in this season, bro?
Yeah, my health is up and down, man. Really depends on the week or the day, and it's not in much of a different place than it was the last time we talked, maybe a couple years ago. It's about in the same spot, so I think because I put stuff out and I am active, that people that it can't seem from the outside like everything is all good. But this project was supposed to come out a lot earlier than it did. I have a book that was supposed to be out, a couple months ago that's not finished yet. And, I got a lot of stuff that has been put on pause or just gotten really delayed because I just haven't had the energy to push through the finish line. But I'm really grateful that I'm able to do this stuff at all, even if it happens a little later than I want to. And, the Lord is using it to teach me things about my plans and His. There are a lot of plans I have that I want things to work out a particular way for a particular reason, and the Lord has a different way, and He has better reasons. And so He's shown me that clearly in a lot of ways. And I know people, there's some people who are bedridden. They have chronic fatigue and they're bedridden. They can't really do much of anything.
Wow.
and who barely ever get anything done. And so the fact that I'm still able to do stuff I love, just even though I limp along with it, I'm really grateful for that.
Man, how much has your life in general changed since you've taken on this new role as a teaching pastor? I mean, you've always been involved at churches and I mean doing internships and all of that stuff, but I mean this obviously is much more involved than some of your previous roles before.
Yeah, it's a big change. There was a time in DC where I was on staff in a way where I probably gave as much time as I do now to the life of the church, though my role was different. I wasn't preaching as much as I am now. It is a pretty drastic change because it does require a lot of my time and energy. And there's some tensions between the life of an artist and the life of a pastor. Some tensions that I like because there's some things about being an artist that I think are tensions between being an artist and being a Christian because there's a lot of stuff that where you can easily start to build your life around, just trying to get as famous as you can and, build your life in a way where there are no regular rhythms that help you have anybody in your life who knows you, that help you commit to a body in any way, on the road, doing 200 shows a year, all of that stuff. And that's never been quite what I've gone after. So there's some things that I like about the way that it kind of keeps me local and keeps me put. But there are a lot of things that are tough, so that, if there's a season where I'm on a tour, that means I'm away from my church family for a long time. And that's hard. When I get home, I always feel like I've been gone for years because I feel like I don't know what's going on in people's lives and all of that, as much as I try to keep up the times when I have to be gone for a few weeks at a time. But I try to keep those as rare as possible. And the church is, supportive and gracious with me. The other stuff I'm doing as well. So,
man, I was reading this interview you did with the Christian Post, and you said something real interesting, and what you just said made me think about it with the touring and pastoring and being in people's lives. And you were talking about like the number of people that are currently at your church was like a couple hundred, and how you're like, yo, I'm not really looking for thousands, just because we want to be able to spend as much time in people's lives, discipling them and all of that. I thought that was interesting because you've been in a lot of different types of churches just because of as artists, we travel and all of that. And do you think it's difficult or next to impossible for mega churches to disciple this many people in some cases, man?
Well, a little context for what I was talking about there. With a new church plant, the four pastors, our goal is not, hey, let's grow this thing as big as possible, as quick as possible. If we look up tomorrow and we have 1,000 people, then, we still only got the four pastors we got right now, and we're not ready to think about how to serve and be in those many people. It's already difficult with the couple hundred people we got right now. And so, I'm not saying that I'd be disappointed if we ever grow a whole lot bigger. And I think there's a good chance that we will, but, I am very content with as slow as the Lord wants that growth to happen. A pastor friend of mine used to always tell a story about a guy who was, talking to a younger pastor and saying, I know that you'll be embarrassed and longing for more people at your church, but when you have to stand before God and answer for the people under your charge, you'll have wished that you had less. I understand that, all the folks in our church that we're shepherding, we'll have to stand before God and we'll have to, be accountable to him for the way that we shepherded those souls. And so, we're not anxious to add hundreds more to what we're doing. As far as other, mega churches and discipling folks, we see big churches in the New Testament. So I wouldn't in any way want to say that, it's impossible for big churches to be faithful. I've seen big churches be faithful, but it is a lot harder. The bigger it gets, the harder it is. And so, if the Lord wants to make us a big church, I'd love it if it happened slowly so that we can, slowly, also get the kind of pastors on the squad who can help shepherd them so that we can also build this foundation slow and deep of a family that loves each other in each other's lives, because it can easily just turn into a Sunday morning event, and we don't want that to happen. We really want to be a family that cares for one another. So we're trying to build that as kind of slow and steady as we can.
Man, that's admirable, man. It's it's funny because like it's so many churches that struggle with that, you know. And I go to a big church, so I see both sides of it. You know what I mean? And,
yeah.
It's real, bro. It's definitely real. Listen, if you're just tuning in, I'm DJ Wado. You're listening to the Wado Radio Show. We have Trip Lee on the line with us, and he has a new project that's dropping this week, new mixtape. And, you know, we've been talking to him a bit about it. You got a record on there called Still Unashamed. And if I'm honest with you, that was the record on there that I wanted to hear the most just from listening to the track listing. So, I'm just curious, man, what you and Tadashi cooking on there, man?
That one is Alex Medina sent me a track that was this incredible sample of a choir singing this song, saying we are not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and he flipped the sample real dope, and I thought, man, this joint is amazing, you know. And so we made some edits to the track, and I wrote to it, and originally we was gonna put the whole squad on it, you know, just a big squad track, but it was just hard to make happen, so it ended up just being me and Tadashi. I love Tadashi's verse and really happy with how it turned out. But yeah, I mean, that's just the thought behind it, you know. From the jump, I think it's been 116, Romans 1:16, unashamed of the gospel, it's the power of God for salvation to all who believe. And we wanted to do our music and live our lives in a way that represent that. And so, you know, just wanted to kind of make a statement. We're still unashamed of the gospel. That's still what the driving force of our life, and that's still what shapes our worldview that we take to everything that we do, including our music. So, so I think people will love that one. I think that'll be a favorite, a fan favorite.
Man, I guess is a couple. Actually, it's more than a couple months ago now. It's time be flying, but there was a bit of a controversy around you guys changing the mission statement, on the website, and it's dope to hear you obviously say that the mission is still the same, but I think there was just some confusion for a period of time of, is the mission really still the same?
Yeah. Well, with the mission statement on the website, I think that was largely a misunderstanding, as far as I can tell, because what really changed wasn't like our actual mission statement. We didn't have a meeting saying, hey, 116 doesn't mean unashamed of the gospel anymore. We're going to take that out of our mission. It was really just, they were just switching up the bio on the website. It needed to be refreshed, and it probably wasn't worded in the most helpful way. And I think it came off to people as a more kind of very intentional removing the meaning of, or removing the gospel from what it is that we're doing and thinking about. And that really wasn't it at all. It was really just, as a new bio was written, just trying to write it and probably just unhelpfully worded. But I understand why people get scared about that. You know, when stuff gets bigger, there is this kind of, stuff changes. And as it changes, there is this fear that comes with it that people are no longer going to really love Jesus, so they'll kind of hide their love for Jesus, especially as stuff gets bigger and times change. And I understand that fear. And so that's one of the reasons why a song like that's important to me, to make sure people know, the mission is the same. We're still unashamed of the gospel. And even as we navigate new arenas, my goal is for that to always remain the same. So,
did you guys always see eye to eye on, as you guys are navigating this thing and, you know, making decisions and, you know, how you guys brand yourself and all of that?
We see eye to eye on all the big questions. You know, if are we unashamed of the gospel? What does 116 mean? You know, what do we think our role as Christians in culture is? All of that stuff. We agree on those big questions. So there may be some like this decision or that decision that we disagree on, but that's going to be the case with any group of dudes. You know, we're not going to agree on every single decision, every single statement that comes out of everybody's mouth. And so when there is disagreement, we have those conversations privately. You know, we may be like, hey, man, why'd you say this? Or, did you think about this or that? Or I know you want me to say this, but I think this or that. And we have those conversations, and we always continue to have those, especially as, you know, we started, things were just so organic, and as things continue to go and navigate new arenas, so it's always good for us to continue to have conversations amongst each other and sharpen each other and think about new seasons and all of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, you man, you did this interview with Lift Every Voice a few weeks ago, and there was a clip from that joint that I won't say it went viral, but it definitely made its ways around the internet. And I thought it was very it was dope the way you stated it, because you were saying how, like, there has to be some type of happy medium between just Jesus all the time and basically not shrinking back, and you're trying to find that happy medium. Do you feel like you found it at this point, or is it still like, do you feel like it's still a work in progress in some cases?
Yeah, I mean, there's always an element of a work in progress. I'm always reevaluating what I say, how I say it, what I'm doing, how I do it, all of that.
Sure.
And my thing is so much the balance between how often we say Jesus, but whether or not we do it in an obnoxious way.
Yeah.
And just all of life, not even just music, but just in all of life, like how we interact with people. Are we going to interact in an obnoxious kind of self-righteous manner, or are we going to interact with people as other broken people who also need the gospel? And that's going to show up in different artists in different ways. So, you know, Lecrae's music is going to be different than my music. Our music's going to be different. Lecrae's interviews are going to be different than my interviews. We're both unashamed of the gospel, and we have different ways that we navigate that with our art and the way that we speak in our interviews and all that. Some of it's how we're wired, some of it's our passions, all of that. Yeah, and I hope that, you know, as we continue to move forward, that people are, I hope as we continue to move forward that people are comfortable with there being differences between artists on the label. You know, we're not all the same person. We're not all making the same songs. We're not all the same dude.
Yeah.
And I think that could be really healthy for our community. You know, people who love this kind of music, this kind of hip hop that, you know, he thinks about things from his biblical worldview, and is also dope. And I hope we leave space for some people to be really explicit, some people to be really teachy, some people to be really theological, and other people to be more implicit, use more metaphors, you know, maybe less teachy, maybe more like experiential. You know, I hope there's space for different kinds of music, and I hope we can understand that there is a way to be unashamed of the gospel that expresses itself in different ways.
It's interesting you mentioned the teaching thing, bro, because I feel like even though you probably out of everybody on the label is the most natural teacher, because you do pastor, you preach almost every weekend. Yeah. Your music still doesn't come across like that, particularly your latter stuff, but it's still clear what you're communicating.
Yeah. And that's for me, that's the balance I'm going for. You know, I want there to be rich content in my music, and I want there to be gospel content in my music, and I want to illustrate biblical truth, all of that. But I don't want it to come off like it's a lecture or even a sermon. You know, I preach sermons. There's a way that way of communicating should be. And when I write books, there's a way that I communicate in books. And then when I do music, so I don't want to force my music to be a book or force my music to be a sermon, though there are always going to be commonalities. So as I continue to grow as an artist, I want to grow in making the best music, the best songs I can, and take advantage of the unique things about songwriting. You know, in a sermon, I have a song called Money Up on the Mixtape that is like kind of talking from the perspective of kind of a typical rapper who's like, man, I got all these problems, but once I get this money, I'm gonna be good. And then the second verse is like, all right, I got this deal, I got a little money, but now dudes is trying to like use me. So when I get rich like Jay, then I'm gonna have a private jet, I'll be good, I don't have to deal with these people. And then at the end of the song, it's like, hey, I got everything I wanted, now what am I supposed to do? You know, I still got problems. In a sermon, I can't like play a role of somebody who's like chasing money. But I can't preach a sermon and say, like Ecclesiastes says, you know, he who loves money won't be satisfied by it. But then when I'm writing a song, I can more artfully play a role, tell a story in a unique way. And so I want to let songs be songs and take advantage of the unique stuff about songwriting. And I want to do that in book writing. I want to do that in sermon writing, all of that stuff. So yeah, so that's part of my journey with finding, you know, whatever balance is in the different art forms that I do. So.
Will your next album be a combination book album like Rise?
I don't think so right now. And one of the reasons is I just don't want to, especially with my health, I just don't want to spread myself too thin. You know, I don't want to compromise the quality of the book of the album, which I don't think I did with the last two that I did. No, but I also want to be able to have, but I also want to be able to have the space to, you know, do a tour for the book or do a tour for the album without them competing with each other. And so I liked on the past two how they kind of work together, and I'm just going to try it out this time, separate it, and just see how it goes. But I'm really excited about the book I'm working on too. No, yeah, I can't wait to finish that up and get it in people's hands.
Are you touring this spring? I've heard rumblings that you and KB might be cooking something, but you know,
you just have to wait and see.
So I wasn't supposed to ask that, right?
Yeah, I just don't know. Nah, it's all good. No. But yeah, we just have to wait and see what happens for that.
I got you, man. Well, Trip, man, it's always good talking with you, man. I wish we had a little bit more time, but it's all good, my brother. Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, bro. Appreciate your support over the years, sincerely, man. I mean that for real. It's we're just in a space where we don't have a million websites and a million voices and a million, you know, there's just not a lot of people who support what we do. We don't fit in with the typical Christian music or the typical hip hop music. So when there are people who just over the years support and help give a voice to what we're doing, I mean, I'm just immensely grateful because we really need that, and folks like you have been really faithful with that over the years. So thank you, man. Man, I appreciate that, man. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
On the Wade Radio Show. On the Wade Radio. On the Wade Radio Show, where it's much more than music, it's ministry.